It is January 22nd at 9 a.m. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. It will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. It's another snowy, colder day in Minnesota here.
It's pretty nice though, right?
That ain't cold compared to what it's going to be.
Is that what I'm hearing? Uh-oh.
No wind.
So we'll begin with dispensing of the minutes from January 15th. If everybody got a chance to review them, is there any modifications?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January
second it.
15th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hewsom, a second by Commissioner Dahlheiden. Any further discussion? None. With that, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Move to approve today's agenda. Is there any additions or anything that needs to be modified?
I have none.
Hearing none, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Potter, a second by Commissioner Dahlheiden. Any discussion? None. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. Moving down, we have the consent agenda. Anything like to be removed for further discussion?
Chair, I'll move the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, a second by Commissioner Hewsom. Any discussion? None. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Timed item number 1. Right on the nose at 9:02. Mr. Matthijs?
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I've got 60 seconds. Here today to ask you to accept a donation from the Minnesota Off-Road Cyclists in the amount of $1,244.58 to be set aside in the dedicated account for Bertram Chalem Lakes for maintenance and improvements to the single-track mountain bike trail. As you may be aware, MORC, or Minnesota Off-Road Cyclists, is a big partner with our single-track mountain bike trails out there, and they had a little extra money, so they donated it to us for continued maintenance.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adopt the resolution accepting the donation from the Minnesota Off-Road Cyclists.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, a second by Commissioner Dahlheiden for the approval of the donation. It's a resolution. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Commissioner Delyden, Park Board, fully aware of this, all on board, everything's,
Yeah.
okay, that's what we want to hear.
I was just going to ask to Mr. Chair, how many miles do we have? And
About 13.
13.
so there's a lot of people that are using that trail.
Good.
Or that the tracks down there at the Bertram Lake, and they're getting people from all over.
Yep, quite a ways.
Yeah.
People from Canada are coming down.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's
Even get people from Wisconsin coming across.
No.
Not good.
Wait a minute, that's, I might have to
wall over there
reconsider.
maybe.
All right. It's a resolution. Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
9:04. We're running a minute behind for Mr. Hevela.
All right, well, we'll see if we can pick up the speed. Yeah, board, this is a ditch item, so I'm not sure I can do it in a minute, but the action item is we're going to call for a public hearing. This is for the abandonment of County Ditch 14. We do have the proper amount of signatures for it. It's a legal proceeding. So we're proposing February 26th to actually hold the hearing, where we'll take testimony on whether that system still provides a public purpose.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Where's 14 at?
My district.
Right.
to
Right for
Buffalo, heading
township,
south.
right?
It kind of parallels Highway 25, just about a mile east of it.
There's like less than 15 benefited landowners, correct? Yeah, it's like 13. 13, it's pretty small.
It's out by Zion Lutheran Church and,
Okay.
Yeah.
How long of a ditch is it?
We've been looking into that because
Yeah, come on up here.
Go up there.
You look better on camera than I do.
it's one of those that we're missing a profile drawing, so we're going off of just a legal description. And there was a legal description from when it was designed and after construction, so we were just kind of trying to figure out. I think it's about 3/4 of a mile.
Oh, so very short.
Yeah, very short.
That one doesn't end up in Buffalo Lake at all, does it?
No, that heads south.
Mary,
It's on the south end. It basically serves as the outlet portion for the lake right now.
Commissioner Potter's trying to compete with you, Mr. Dahlheiden, on having the fewer amount of ditches, so if you can get rid of one there.
And Mr. Chair,
Never get rid of them all.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
And the thing is, if people were against it, we pretty much, we got the signatures, we're gonna have the hearing basically, and then that's where the talk would be, and then the decision would be made after that.
Yes, correct. The 51% of landowners signed that petition, and that initiates the hearing. You know, we will send out notices notifying all the benefited landowners and some other landowners in the area. So if they have any objections, they can submit a written objection, or else not, you know, we'd have the public hearing and.
And then just as an FYI, Matt, what is how many votes, what percentage does it need to be abandoned? It must be higher than that, I would take.
There's nothing in statute has a definitive number. It's just that 51% that can initiate the hearing. You know, you do have to determine if the ditch serves a useful benefit,
Okay.
and that's kind of the gray area where we'll.
Okay,
have some more
we'll
discussion.
look at it then, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Ditch 14 is one of those that doesn't serve really a function, in personal opinion, doesn't serve a function like a regular ditch does or anything. It really doesn't go anywhere. I lived in that area and I know where it's at, and it hasn't been maintained, there really hasn't been any activity at all, and there's really not a huge flooding problem anywhere on that whole corridor that I ever recall from 1970 on down there. So I welcome this, and it's grassroots where they decide to put it together, and I applaud them for, because as long as it's sitting there, it's a problem. Once it's gone, it's not a problem anymore for us. And you're busy enough, aren't you, Matt?
So
Mr. Chair.
I was just gonna say, the only thing about not being maintained, that doesn't differentiate this one over a lot of our other ones.
Yeah, from other ones, yeah, this is true. Chair will
procedural.
make a motion to adopt a resolution to schedule a public hearing.
Sure, we have a motion by Commissioner Potter.
second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Husum. They have the next 30 days then to petition any benefits to the system in this, if anybody, any of those 13 landowners want to add to the record that would state that they would claim any benefit to the system, they could be petitioned in this next window then?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, you know, with this adoption of the resolution, we will set in motion the proper notifications to the landowners and the surrounding area. Again, we have never done this before, so we've been allowed systems to be taken over by municipalities, abandoning them to the stormwater systems. So this will be our first time actually abandoning a ditch system. So we do have Ranky Noonan on retention. We'll learn as you learn.
Are we intending on having an engineer report or anything, just, okay.
And Mr. Chair, it sounds like it's just sort of a natural creek. It has become just a creek that runs into Lake Mary, so it seems appropriate.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any other further discussion? With none, all in favor say aye. Is it a resolution? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the last page. All right, resolution. Commissioner Potter?
Aye.
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 All right. Minutes from, our items for consideration, minutes from January 15th. Mr. Kelly.
I will take those. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee of the Whole met on the 15th. All commissioners were in attendance. Also, we had Sheriff-elect Derringer, Matt Treichler, Todd Hoffman, and Sean Johnson. The first item we discussed were the Sheriff's Office Organization Analysis proposals. We had received two quotes, two proposals, one from Matrix Consulting for $79,000, the other for Springstead Human Capital Advisors for $84,500. Springstead will be partnering with Azimuth Group as part of this study, which is what they specialize in. Recommendation was to proceed with the proposal from Springstead at a cost of $84,500. Funding will be through Budget 100 Professional Services. Presentations will be made to commissioners, staff, and administration staff. And after the recommendations of study received, placeholder should be included in the 2020 budget for estimated cost should be done prior to the budget sessions starting in August. The second item we discussed was a proposal for the IT director recruitments. We had two proposals, as I mentioned, one from DDA Human Resources for $18,000, the second from Springstead Waters Executive Recruitment for $22,500. We kind of discussed the rationale for going this route, hiring a recruitment firm. We had some input from the HR director, hoping to find a larger candidate pool and use the network of these professional firms to help us find the best candidate possible. They do guarantee what they call triple guarantee. Whoever is hired leaves the county within 24 months, that they will cover the search for the next person within those 2 years. That was provided by both firms. The decision was made to move forward with Springstead Waters Executive Recruitment at a cost of $22,500. Again, funded through Budget 100 Professional Services. Again, presentations, Springstead will be made to the commissioners and administration staff. Administration should reach out to Sherburne County to obtain salary of their IT director. And in the interim, I will serve in the role of interim IT director. Summary of the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Potter and a second by Commissioner Dahlin for the approval of the minutes from January 15th. Any further discussion?
And the recommendation on this is also to hire Springstead for that, or?
For the IT director?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I'm finding myself on some of the recommendations, I'm okay with Lee running it in the interim and stuff like that, but I'm still against using the outside firm, I don't think. So I guess I will vote against it for that reason.
Okay. Do you want to parcel out the minutes? And
If you could do that,
Yep.
I mean,
if you want to ask.
I'm fine with that.
All right, Commissioner Potter and Commissioner Dahlin are willing to. So we'll make the first will be to approve the sheriff's minutes, the minutes as a whole, and the recommendations under the sheriff's office analysis proposal. And for the recommendation is Lee to fill in as interim director. That'll be the first one. Okay. All right. So any further discussion on that item?
Mr. Chair, just clarification then, so this, it would just be for the first one we were talking about, all right.
Mr. Chair, it might be cleaner just to do the minutes and item A's recommendations.
Okay.
Well, but then I don't get to approve the minutes. If we did the minutes in item B, C, and D, I could vote for that.
So, all right, so
Can
we're
we
going
do that, the minutes in B, C, and D?
And then
Or
A,
just
B,
do
and
the
C in the
minutes as
first
a
one.
separate item.
So we're doing the A, B, and C under the sheriff's analysis proposal, and B, C, and D under the IT director recruitment.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I didn't see there's two separate
Yep.
places.
Yeah, there's 4 items.
First.
Mr. Kelly, does that?
I
Okay.
think I have it notated accurately.
Okay. So that's the first we have a motion by Commissioner Potter still, and a second by Commissioner Dahlin. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, now do we have a motion to proceed for the second item for the IT director recruitment for the proceeding with the Springstead Waters executive recruitment?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dahlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
4-1. All right. All right, now we are moving down to, I think this is the first time we've actually going to have a substantial amount of time for advisory comments. So with that, I will kind of work our way down here. Either one of you two want to sit on this side?
Go ahead.
I'll start it. The owners committee, I'll leave that for Commissioner Burrell because I think he got a lot out of.
Are we going to do that now, Mike, or should we wait for the minutes to come in?
Well, you can just give an overview of what we discussed there. But I'll go on for. Well, last Friday we had the I-94 breakfast, the legislative kickoff. Was well represented, full house in the Rogers Community Center. We couldn't get Margaret Anderson Kelleher there. She had too many scheduling conflicts. But we did have Chair Hornstein in the House, and we did have Bruce Anderson. Anderson was there, and he's on the Transportation Committee now for down there. A lot of discussion of what's going on, and it's basically we've got a cohesive a plan from Maple Grove all the way to St. Cloud. That's, everybody's on the same page on what to do with it, how to deal with it. And this goes back to PennDOT having 3 years ago, John Tompkins become the freight corridor director, and modeling after a couple other states that did that for their major arteries going through. And we just, everything's going well. MnDOT is determined to finish this project off. Granted, from Clearwater to St. Cloud, that project was done about 5-6 years ago. That's probably not going to happen for a while yet, but everything else is scheduled to, some of the groundbreaking will happen this year, but most of the construction will be next year for not only the Wright County side, but also the Hennepin County side. And the next item, Mr. Chair and Board, is the Library Board. We met last Tuesday evening. Finance Committee was the first part that met, and a preliminary budget at the end shows a $548,000 surplus. The reason for that is twofold. One is the money we got from the state exceeded what we budgeted. That was a nice little surprise that we didn't anticipate coming. And the other thing is the 7 months that we didn't fill that fundraising director that took a while to find a person. And so now that begs the question, what do you do with it? In the past, what we've done is had those little enhancements to our library system, like express checkout and different things, some upgrading of computers and what have you. And these are some of the things that can happen, but the Finance Committee is going to discuss what's going on, what we're going to do with that later, because at the Library Board, we have an excess of 6 months of operating reserves because our CDs have been doing really well. And so we're going to discuss at what point do we stop doing that and either lower the levy or change the way that we don't anticipate that kind of surplus for the next audit, because of the fact that we know we're locked in, we know what the number is for from the state, because that's a 2-year deal, and we know that with the positions that we had are filled in. The only caveat is lead service coordinators that retire and somebody doesn't have as much experience, but that won't be anywhere near that number. And any questions, I'll make sure that Lee gets a copy of that for everybody to see. And I'm sure that Karen Punsek, when she comes out sometime March, April, will make a presentation and let you know where the rest of it's at. Otherwise, everything on the board is running well. We're still looking for that person to replace Jim Shovelin, who, again, I just can't shout out and give enough kudos for how much of an active member and how great he was to have on that board. But we're still looking for somebody.
No bites yet?
I'm done, Mr. Chair.
All right. Mr. Burrell?
Well, I'll mention that, the Justice Center, the Owners Committee, Commissioner Potter and I and a whole bunch of people were out there, and we did get an update from Contegrity Group and BKV, but the schedule is a little bit behind, maybe about 3 weeks behind, I think, with the weather and some things like that, but they're actually hoping that after they get the building closed up that they'll actually get back on track. So they do have plastic up right now and temporary heat inside, and after the meeting we went and took a little tour through, and it's actually quite comfortable in there. So what would you say, Mike, 60 degrees or so?
60 degrees, and the frost is out in the lower level, so they can get back to doing everything they need to do down there.
So anyway, the amount of money that we had set aside for contingency, and what has been used, they extrapolated out. They think they'll end up with about $1.3 million in that area left over yet at the end if things continue on this course. There were some disputes with a couple of contractors on some things that they thought they were bidding it one way, and so they're working those out. There was a couple of them where somebody said, well, they told me to bid it this way, and they said, well, what did the writing say? And I they know enough that you have to go with what's written down. So but that's kind of it. I think and we did look at the area where Alan talked about with the ambulance coming in, if that were the case sometime, and Alan's not here, but we appreciate that. I mean, it is something that's what we have them on staff for, to point those things out. But I think, Commissioner Potter, if I may speak for you, but I think we kind of agreed with what Mark said, and they should be able to make it. And then actually, if it was a real problem, they could actually come in from the other direction too, and then go out. So it's for a larger, like longer ambulance, you just have to be a better driver is all.
Well, and Charlie, another thing is the Integrity Group is going to do a quick overview of if you were to change it, how much would it cost?
Yeah.
Just to give us an idea. I think I agree with you and Commissioner Delight that I think the space is adequate, and if one time in 5 years you may have to open the door, well, just so be it.
Yeah.
But just so you know what the cost is, just so we know, okay, we've done our due diligence on everything. I got a feeling it's going to come in pretty expensive because of the footings already in place.
Yeah. But anyway, that was it. I mean, things are looking good. I mean, if you drive by the building, it's there. So.
Charlie, one more item I did want the rest of the board. With the disputes with contractors over how to do things, and this is one thing I really do like Integrity Group for, because they've dug in and they say, no, you're not getting that. They're anticipating us getting quite a few more credits on different things because of them, and that's what I like about that group is they have definitely taken the hard stance attitude. No, that's not what's in the contract. This is what's in. This is what you bid on.
You get the feeling. You know what it is. They're working for us. So
yeah. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
That's it. I had a slow week with advisory committees, but I had a lot of things I was working on with constituents. And one thing I can talk about is there's been a lot of discussion about the stoplights in Buffalo on Highway 25 and 55. So I spoke with MnDOT, and I was directed to St. Cloud office. And Robin says that we're actually scheduled to have a study done this spring. So he said, whatever input you have, though, to please let us know. So anyway, I'm gathering comments from people and forward that to Robin at MnDOT. But they have 8 patterns during the day when, the lights change depending on traffic and that kind of thing, so.
What are the actual complaints?
Well, one of the biggest ones is how fast a left turn signal will change. So on some of these lights over by Culver's and things, you might let 1 or 2 people through at certain times of the day. So there's 4 or 5 people, and a lot of them are running the red light. And Settlers Parkway is another one. It'll change. I mean, I don't know if it gets triggered because of the train, but one of the things that happens is you go up, and this actually happened to me, and I didn't even think about making it as a comment, but someone else did. So I was waiting for the light to change. The train went through. The light turned green. By the time I got up to the intersection, it turned red. So some of those things that are not set right, so it can be a danger. But one of the biggest dangers is people are running those red lights because they let 2 people through, and there's this long line, and they just, I gotta go.
It's good that they're doing a study of that. We had that problem when they had that 34, because that light was going really quick, and they did manually change that to give it more time.
Yeah.
But that wasn't part of the computer program stacking. It was just they manually did that. So during that construction, that delay, they gave that a longer sequence before it turned. And they're responsive. They'll come down, and when you have an issue, they'll come down and deal with it, which is nice.
Yeah, and I did give him some comments over the phone that day, but and the one right here by the Buffalo Hotel. Sometimes you can wait.
That one's, yeah. It'll skip you a few times.
Yep, and it does. I waited for the 3rd cycle before I can get a left turn on that one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, on 5525.
Yes.
When you deal with the train, that just screws it all up.
That's another one that I noticed that, maybe 2 cars can take a left turn from, if you're heading east on 55, taking north on 25, and it's 2 lanes, but it might let 2 people in, and so it's just kind of different the way they have it set up. But anyway, so that's just a little FYI.
So last week I had the first Trailblazer meeting of the year. I will be the chair for Trailblazer this year. Very short, the shortest meeting we've had, at least that I've attended, was more of an organizational meeting, and we discussed a little bit about the RTCCs, which are kind of a MnDOT-driven planning groups, and whether, because now it's gotten to the point now where counties are going to be asked to put money into this RTCC group. It's a little bit challenging for Trailblazer because Sibley County is in a different RTCC than McLeod County, and Wright County is in a different one. So we're actually, all three entities are in 3 separate RTCCs.
Remember
So,
that for?
Regional Transit
Coordination.
Coordination Coalition or something, yeah, it's something.
RT, okay.
CC. They're, basically the goal about them is to try and leverage Health and Human Services rides through local transit systems. But unfortunately, the way where the lines are drawn, our system is very fragmented. And they ended up in 6E is where McLeod County is. They allowed Sibley County to join that RTCC, but they won't allow Wright County to join that group because they say Wright County's needs are different than their needs. So
But yet they make us work together on transit.
So at this point, right now, the Trailblazer Board is leaning towards not participating at all because our group being so fragmented, it doesn't seem to make sense.
Mr. Chair, to be fair for the public, since it's such a new, getting off the ground with us being members, it's best not to get involved in it. Let's get that solid first before we start venturing out anywhere.
Absolutely, and that was pretty much the discussion that took place. Also, we've also made a lot of discussions on the Bertram side. We've had kind of some emails back and forth and discussing camper cabins and designs. That'll be coming forward back to, probably the board will see it at some point here when we get a final contract and a design layout. Parks Commission's been weighing in heavily on that, I believe.
Yeah, everybody wants the gabled roof instead of the flatter roof.
And I think that's what I've been kind of seeing or hearing, so.
Yeah, I think it's, well, even at the Parks meeting, it was the same way.
Is it?
Yeah, nobody liked the flat style roof.
And it's about, what, $15,000 more for all 6 units total? I mean, it's like $3,000 more per unit
Yeah,
or something.
but once it goes up for bids, it's a different situation.
Too, yeah. Just from a conceptual standpoint, they're estimating that price. Other than that, Wright County Economic Awards Banquet, annual banquet was very nice last Friday. Good turnout, considering they were competing with the I-94 breakfast as well, but they still had, about 70-plus people there. Very nice, very good speakers, so that's all I have.
Last Monday, the Public Health Task Force met. One of the things that we're working on is trying to improve the amount of dentists available for those that are on Medicare, Medicaid. Of all the dentists that are in Wright County, I think there's 3 of them that will accept Medicaid.
New patients.
New patients.
Yeah.
And there's even a lot of them that don't even take Medicaid. I mean,
Yeah.
won't even, and it's because Medicaid is doesn't even pay their costs.
Because did they say there was like 25 that actually accepted, but only 3 are taking new patients or something like that?
I don't think there was 25.
I think it's 25 that actually have people that are on MA, but they're not taking new patients.
I don't
or something
remember the
like that.
exact number. No, I didn't think it was that many.
Did they say like 70% of people aren't going to the dentist, or it was a very high percentage of people?
And NPR this morning was talking about that. This is the paperwork involved in the last years is just gone, so forget it, we're not even participating.
How did you find out about that, Mike? Somebody told you?
Me?
You were listening to what?
NPR, yeah.
Because you've never listened to them,
There was a
Charlie.
Chrysler influence there.
I thought maybe Greg told you that or something.
I don't know, I've been in Charlie's car and I've heard it tuned in.
I'm turning you into the Republican Party.
Go right ahead.
ERP, we have eliminated 2 of the 6, and on Thursday they'll be meeting to trim it down to just 2. The 2 highest actually didn't meet our needs, so that's out. And maybe Lee can share a little bit more with us on that here in a second. Parks, we had met, and like I said, about the gable roofs, and also regarding the mill that's on the Sherburne County side that Wright County's taking care of.
You mean Stearns County side?
Stearns County side. We'll be meeting with Stearns to discuss that and if they're going to take it over or what. I mean, we have a little bit on the Wright County side, but the majority of it is on the Stearns County side, so we'll have to try and figure out what's going on with that. And I think that's it. So hopefully, yeah, with the ERP meeting coming up. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention too is tomorrow is the point in time for homeless. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to be actually homeless living in a car or out in the street, but if they're couch hopping from one people to the other, surfing, couch surfing, whatever, there's a spot on the county website where you can fill out some forms. And it's very important that we get as accurate a count as possible because it helps bring more money into the county for certain help.
You don't have any more room at your house?
No, I have no more room at my house. In fact, it looks like my mother-in-law will be moving with us.
See, he runs a hotel there. Or is it maybe more of a retirement home?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a zoning violation that he was running for a while.
It's high-density housing, so. All right, so if there's anything, oh, Lee, Mr. Kelly, yes.
Yeah, just since we brought up ERP, as it was mentioned, we went from 6 down to 4. Spent a lot of time last week, staff did, vetting the proposals and all the documents that came with. I think we raised a ton of questions in that process as well that we're waiting for some answers on. But we think by the end of the week we'll have it narrowed down to 2 that we can then schedule for on-site demos. So I think it's moving forward. It was interesting in the ranking, as Commissioner DeLayden said, the 2 that we as a group kind of put as the top 2 were the 2 or lower priced options. So that's good at this point. So just vetting out the proposals and getting more info. So
Do you think you'll be able to narrow it down to 2 and not 3? I know the goal is to get it down to 2, but
I know myself and I think others share the opinion that 2 and 3 were really close when going through it. So I think we'll have a pretty robust discussion on Thursday.
Because right now we have scheduled for 3 days of demos, correct?
Correct.
So we might, if we get it down to 2, we'll be cutting one of them out.
Well, we're having 2 weeks of 3 days each. So each vendor will have 3 days to present their proposal.
So we're going down from
be
9
very-
to 6 days potentially.
Correct.
it's,
Right now, we're holding 6 days, so we'd have to schedule another.
Oh, if we go to
3
3,
days.
oh, you'd have to schedule 3 more, okay.
So
it's important to have a full display of what they're capable of doing. You know, it could show good on the paper, but until you see it actually, how it works, I think is going to be critical on making that final decision. Because we do want the best what's for Wright County. And
Yeah,
not
what matches what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, which is, you know, the 2 most expensive ones. It's interesting that they just, as expensive as they were, didn't even come close to working with what we needed here.
You know what I thought was interesting too, is it just by happens that the more expensive ones had the biggest relicensing cost as well. I mean, you'd have thought that maybe they'd have a bigger upfront price and have a lower relicensing cost, but there must be they must use a percentage base or something of the cost of the product or something.
Don't know.
Don't know. With that, I guess we will end the meeting at 9:34 today. If there's any other discussions, any other comments?
Oh, I was just saying, I see some people from the public.
Is there anybody in the public that wants to speak at all today? No? All
Always
right.
nice to see people
It
come.
is nice to see people come. All right, we'll end at 9:34.